Okay, today, once again, we're going to talk about lessons that are using substitution. Okay, we're just going to show you more problems that show you real life problems that you can use substitution method on to solve real world problems. Okay, remember substitution, you're substituting a equation into another equation. Okay, let's look at example 1. A grandfather likes to play guessing games with his grandchildren. One day he tells them, I have only dimes and quarters in my pocket. They are worth $3.85. Okay? I have 14 fewer quarters than dimes. How many of each coin do I have? They want us to use a system of equations to answer the question. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let D equal the number of dimes and Q equal the number of quarters. Makes sense, right? Okay. So when I get out my solution, you always go in alphabetical order. So we're going to say D dimes, Q quarters is how we're going to write our solution. Okay, let's get to the equations. The first thing says they are worth $3.85. Well, first of all, you got to know how much a dime costs, right? Because a dime costs so much, correct? So yeah, a dime costs 10 cents. Times however many dimes do we have? Do we know how many dimes we have? No. That is D. Plus, you got to know how much a quarter costs. A quarter costs 25 cents. Times the number of quarters. What's my number of quarters? Well, that is Q. That total, he said, equals $3.85. Okay? Make sure you pay attention to this question. It is a quiz question. Okay? He also said, for my second equation, I have 14 fewer quarters than dimes. So that means if he had 25 dimes, he only had 11 quarters. So how would you write that? Well, number of quarters is equal to the number of dimes and 14 fewer minus 14. Because quarters aren't equal to dimes, they're equal to dimes minus 14. There's 14 fewer. Okay? This was just an example. Okay? So now I have my two equations. Okay? Which equation is solved for one variable? I hope you are saying the second one. Yes. The second one is solved for one variable. So we're going to use this equation to put into the first equation. Now this says Q equals dimes minus 14. So wherever I see Q up here, I'm going to put in dimes minus 14. So I'm going to put dimes minus 14 right in there for Q. So let's go ahead and rewrite the first equation. So 0.10D plus 0.25, and now Q is dimes minus 14. Notice I put a parenthesis around that. Why? It's because you have to take 25 cents times everything of what Q is. All that has to equal $3.85. Okay? Now, It's all solved for one variable, as you should notice. D, okay? We only have one variable. So we very easily can solve this equation just using my algebra. Well, in my algebra process, I always like to get rid of the parentheses first. So 0.25 times D is 0.25D. 0.25 times a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. 14 times 0.25 is, everybody should know, is $3.50. All that has to equal $3.85. Okay? Now, inverse operations. Okay? I can put these D's together. Why? They are like terms. So, 10 cents plus 25 cents D, 10 cents D plus 25 cents D is 0.35 cents D minus $3.50 equals $3.85. The inverse of subtracting $3.50 is adding $3.50. That adds out, leaves me with 0.35D. And $3.85 plus $3.50 is going to give me roughly $7.35. I divide by 0.35 because I want to find D. And D is equal to 21. Now, should you expect out to get a whole number? Yes. Why should you expect to get out a whole number? Well, we can't have 21.5 dimes. Okay? You have to have a whole number here. So we have 21 dimes. Okay? So if I have 21 dimes, how many quarters do I have? Well, I put 21 right in here for D. So Q equals, quarters equal, 21 minus 14. What is Q? Q is, 21 minus 14 is 7. So, grandfather had 21 dimes and 7 quarters in his pocket. Great way to use substitution formula. Let's look at example 2. Find an equation of a line that passes through the points 3, 26 and negative 2, 1. Okay? An equation of a line. Well, what we're going to use is slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b for my two equations. Now, how are we going to use that? Looks like there's 4 unknowns. Well, actually, we got an x value here. We got a y value here. We got an x value here. We got a y value here. So I'm going to use the first point to make my first equation. I'm going to use the second point to get my second equation. So, my first equation, y. Well, what's y up here? Y is 26. Is equal to m times x. Well, we know x is 3, so I'm going to write 3m. I know x, I don't know m. We can interchange how we write those, okay? Because it's just multiplication. All right? Plus b. Okay? That's my x value. This is my y value. Going to do the same thing with the second coordinate point. My y is 1 equals my x times m plus b. Now, I have my two unknowns, okay? If you wanted to, the coordinate point could be b, comma, m, okay? But what we're actually trying to do is find the equation. So after we find B and M, we're going to plug it back into this equation to find my equation that passes through both points. Okay? So, we need to solve for a variable. Which one do you want to solve for? Well, I think it would be very easy if we just solved this one for B. Okay? That means get B all by itself. So the inverse of subtracting 2m is adding 2m. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So B is going to equal 1 plus 2m. Now that I solved for a variable, wherever I see B up in this first equation, I'm going to plug in 1 plus 2m. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Rewrite the first equation. 26 equals 3m plus b. What's b? b is now 1 plus 2m. So 1 plus 2m. And since I'm not multiplying it to anything, I don't need those parentheses. Okay? Well, 3m plus 2m is 5m. Okay? And now this just looks like regular algebra. The inverse of adding 1, subtracting 1. 5m equals 25. Inverse operations. The inverse of multiplying is division. M equals 5. Okay? So I found my M. Can I find my B? Yes, I can find my B by just plugging it in for this equation. B equals 1 plus 2 times M. What's M now? M is 5. And you're going to say B is 1 plus 10, which is 11. Okay, so I found my M and B. I'm going to plug it into this equation, M and B, and it's going to give me my equation. Once again, a very good test question. Okay, so y equals M, which is 5 times x, plus b. What's b? Well, it is 11. This is an equation that will cross through 3, 26 and a negative 2, 1. So if you remember, we used to do problems where we found the slope of that, put it in the point slope form, yada yada, got our equation. This is another way to solve that type of problem. This is an equation that goes through both those points. Example 3, something for the farmers, okay? People that plan on farming. It says a farmer purchased 100 acres of land for $2,450. He paid $20 per acre for part of it and $30 per acre for the rest. You ain't going to find $20 and $30 per acre anymore. That was a long, long, long time ago. So my variables. X is going to equal the number of $20 acres. Y is going to equal the number of $30 acres. So, his $20 and $30 acres added up to being $2,450. Okay? The number of acres added up to be 100. So those are going to be our two equations. Both of these, X, the number of $20 acres, plus the number of $30 acres, equals, how many acres did he buy? 100. Okay? My second equation is, he bought so many $20 acres. So that is 20, and I guess I shouldn't have wrote the dollar sign, but 20 times, how many number of $20 acres did he buy? We don't know. That is our X. Plus our $30 acres. He spent $30 on every single Y acre. That total was $2,450. Okay? Now, I'm going to solve this equation for X or Y. Probably just go ahead and solve for X. So, X plus Y equals 100, because I got to get just one variable. So, I'm going to subtract Y. So, X equals 100 minus Y. Okay? I'm going to take this, and wherever I see an X in this equation, I'm going to substitute it for 100 minus Y. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do that over here. I'm going to rewrite the second equation. 20 times X. Well, what's X? 100 minus Y. Plus 30Y equals 2,450. Now, as you can see, I just have one variable. Same process as a couple times before. Okay? I got to distribute this 20 through. I have to do it to every single thing. So 20 times 100 is 2,000. 20 times a negative Y is a negative 20Y. Plus 30Y equals 2,450. Now, you all should be yelling at me that these two things are the same thing, so we can combine them. So 2,000 negative 20Y plus 30Y is now 10Y. Equals 2,450. Okay? Regular algebra to find Y. Okay, remember, I'm trying to get out an X comma Y solution. Okay? So, I'm going to subtract 2,000. $10Y is equal to, okay, 450. Divide by 10. Y is going to equal, that should be easy, 45. So what does that mean? He bought 45 $30 acres. Let's find out how many $20 acres he bought. So I'm going to put it into this equation. He only bought 100. Okay? So X equals 100 minus, what's my Y? My Y is 45. So X is going to equal 100 minus 45 is 55. So yeah, most people, you could have figured that out in your head if you only had 100 acres. If he subtracted 45 from 100, obviously then it has to be 55 acres. So how much did the farmer purchase? He purchased 55 $20 acres and 45 $30 acres. That's all I have for you today. Please enjoy, and please make sure that you pay attention to how to write these equations. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.